Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips.
Hello everybody and welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley Phillips and I'm your host. And if this is the first time that you've ever listened to the show, I'll give you a little bit of information about it. So this is a talk show and you can phone us and talk to us. And the show is all about the intuitive and the mystical and spirituality. So we love talking about metaphysics and spirituality on this show. And every week we have a different theme that we explore. And today is going to be a little bit different. I do have a guest in the studio with me and I'm going to introduce him in a moment. So one of my biggest passions is helping people find their passion and their life purpose. And so a lot of my clients are people who are here in the world to be of service to others, to be game changers, people who have a mission to create positive change in the world. And I find a lot of them struggle with how they're going to do that and how they're going to reach their audience and how they're going to have their message heard. So this if that fits your description, then this show is perfect for you to listen to. And of course, in the Lower Mainland as well, we have a thriving community of spiritual teachers and healers and people who are teaching yoga and meditation, and I often find that these people struggle a little bit to earn enough money doing what they're passionate about. And so today's show is exploring ways of developing your spiritual business and expanding your audience so that you can spend your time doing what you love. And I've recently found this fantastic way to expand the way that I get my teachings heard more widely. And I was so impressed with the platform that I found to do it that I decided I really wanted to interview the founder of this platform on my show. Because this platform is helping me get my teachings online, and I can see how it could help a lot of other people to do the same thing. And so I'm going to introduce you now to today's guest, and his name is Greg Smith, and he has been creating and selling online courses for over 10 years, and he's actually helped hundreds of people to do this. And I'm going to read you some of his bio. So Greg says that he loves helping people earn a passive income from their online courses, freeing them up to do the things they love and spend time with the people that they love. And here's something I find really interesting about him is he used to be a lawyer and he used to work for a big Canadian law firm. And then he launched this online his own online courses as a hobby, but they were so successful that pretty soon he was earning more money from the online courses than he was from being a lawyer. And I find that really interesting as well because, you know, I used to be a scientist and I used to be a business development professional in the biotech industry. And so we've got Greg with us today, who used to be a lawyer and now he's an internet entrepreneur. And I used to be a scientist and now I'm a spiritual teacher. And this is a theme maybe we can explore a little bit today as well, because I find that there's a lot of people out there who spend, many years doing one thing only to find that something else is their passion later on. Anyway, so Greg, who was a lawyer and then had some success with his own online courses, decided that he wanted to share his success with others. So he started a company called Thinkific. And this is a platform that lets anyone create and sell their own online courses under their own brand. And in the last 10 years, he's helped thousands of people, including people who are experts, and coaches and trainers to create their own online courses. And he was telling me that there are lots of people on his platform teaching things like mindfulness, meditation, yoga, personal growth, stress relief, and so on. So, without further ado, I want to introduce Greg Smith to you. Hello, Greg. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to meet you, and thanks for coming out all the way out to Abbotsford to the studio.
Happy to. Glad to be here.
So I think I'd like to start by asking you a personal question about the transition from, you trained to be a lawyer and you worked as a lawyer for a number of years. And then you discovered through what started out as a hobby, something that became your passion and has now turned into a second career. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that journey, and what do you prefer, being a lawyer or running an online platform for teaching courses?
Well, I really enjoyed both. I had a great time being a lawyer. I loved the element of the job that I loved the most was helping people. So people come to lawyers when they have a change, a big change going on in their life usually, and you get to help them through that, whether it's a business change or otherwise. So I enjoyed that, and I think that what I saw through teaching and sharing my knowledge with others was this opportunity to, especially doing it online, I just had this opportunity to reach so many people with my message and with what I could share with them. And I started getting such amazing feedback. The revenue was wonderful. That was nice, and really helped me make the transition. But the best part for me was always just the feedback of having hundreds or eventually thousands of people learning from me and saying how valuable that was in their life. And that was, I think, what really inspired me to jump over and go full-time into online education and teaching and sharing that message.
Yeah, it's very rewarding, isn't it, when you can help other people?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I have to thank you because my courses went live today, so I haven't even signed my first student up yet, but it's fantastic, and I'm grateful to you for having created it because I found it really, really helpful so far. Anyway, so I'm curious, you started out doing your own courses, and you must have ironed out a lot of problems and encountered a lot of challenges in those early days. What were the main challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
Well, yes, definitely lots of challenges along the way. One of the first was just figuring out what to teach and what I wanted to share. And I knew I had an area of expertise, but it was kind of figuring out within that area what I should be teaching. And I was lucky because I had a few people I was already teaching in real life and connecting with or asking me for help. So I just reached out to them and asked what they were looking to learn from me. And then once I got that figured out, the challenges came from two big areas. One was technical, just figuring out all the requirements of how to build my course and create it, and the tools to use to do it. And then the other was marketing, is just, you've got this wonderful thing that you've built and you've put together, and now how do you get it in front of hundreds or thousands or the whole world so that they can see it and have an opportunity to learn from what you've put together.
Yeah, and I'm interested in picking your brains about marketing a bit later. But, you mentioned something there about figuring out what you wanted to teach. So what advice have you got for all those people out there who, because sometimes we have lots of choices of what we could teach. So what advice do you have for someone for how to formulate their knowledge and choose what parts of it to put into a course and how to structure it within a course?
There's a lot of ways you can go about doing it. If you're already teaching or sharing offline in real life, you can often take what you're doing there and very closely mimic that. If it's working for you in real life, if it's working for you in person, then you should be able to transfer that online with a very similar format. If you're really starting from scratch and you're not sure how to put it together, then I would start by reaching out to people. If you have even a small number of people that are interested in learning from you, then ask them, on this general area, what do you want to know about? What do you want to know from me? And you don't have to say, I'm putting together a course or something. Just ask them what they want to learn from you. You can answer those questions, and that gives you great feedback. in terms of the specific things they want to learn. And often those answers will surprise you because it'll be something so simple that you wouldn't have even included it. But this is what people want to know from you.
I can imagine that, because sometimes when you're an expert, some of the simpler things just don't occur to you, do they? Because that's just, so I can imagine it's really important to talk to your potential audience and really understand exactly where they are and how much they know, because otherwise you could pitch your course at the wrong level, couldn't you?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, great. So, let me see, what else so you already mentioned that, for people who are already teaching, it's quite easy for them because, they already have teaching materials. So, so how would they go about doing it? And another question is, if you've written a book, say you've written a book or you've written an ebook, can you convert that to a course?
Yes, definitely. So we've actually seen a lot of people converting ebooks to courses, and it's becoming, with the technology we have specifically, it's actually really easy to take an ebook and convert it into an online course. And you can keep that as something that's mostly written with images, or you can add audio now to it as well and turn it into a more engaging multimedia kind of experience. So it's fairly easy now to take something that's even just written as a book and turn it into online content.
And how important is it? Because there's, as you mentioned, there's different elements that you can include. You can teach through video, you can teach through audio, you can teach through the written word. And how important is it to have a mix of different elements? And how important is it to have video content? Because you didn't mention video there. So you said, you've got your online book and you literally can just, add a bit of audio and there you are, you've got your course. What are people looking for these days in terms of courses? Do they prefer to have some video content?
For me, video is my personal favorite. Mm-hmm. I think it's great. I think a big thing, especially when you're getting into spiritual teaching, is you can get to know the person a little bit better that way. You can make a closer connection with them because they can see you and kind of get to know your personality, and you can communicate a lot more through video often, but it's not necessary. We've definitely seen people put together great courses. What's really important too is the message. If you've got a strong message and you're putting that together and sharing your knowledge with people, and it's something you believe in and you're going to help them with. Books are obviously still very popular, even though we've got everything online. So you don't always need to go that extra step and have video. It is my personal favorite, and what I like to say for people who are considering doing a lot of text in an online course is to sprinkle a little bit of video, even if it's just the introduction, and see how it goes and see what the feedback is from students. And you can always, it's kind of an organic process. You can always grow and change it as you move forward. Yeah.
And, for example, I teach through meditation. So a lot of my course is audio because it doesn't make sense for me to be, if people have their eyes closed, they don't need to see me. But I am very interested in adding some more video to it. And what would you say to somebody who doesn't have any experience putting video content together and is a little bit nervous about it? What advice would you give them?
Right. The simplest advice would be don't be intimidated and just go out and give it a shot. There's so many wonderful resources for putting together video. You can definitely go to the high end and hire someone to help you with it. Or you can grab your cell phone, and most cell phones these days have HD cameras on them that can produce amazing quality video, and you can start there and see what you think and move up from there. But I've seen people actually put together some excellent courses just using an iPhone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's phenomenal, isn't it? We just have all of this at our fingertips these days. So now what tools do you provide within your platform that make things easier for people?
I see that when someone is putting together an online course, and I kind of touched on this in the challenge when we talked about some of the challenge that I faced, is the big challenges people face is sort of putting together their content, then delivering the content online and figuring out how to do that, and then marketing it. And so across those three areas, we try and solve as much problems as we can, or as many problems as we can. So we make it really easy to create your course. So, you can show up with nothing and start building a course very, very easily. We make it really, really easy to go and deliver it so that you don't have to worry about any of the technology. And then we help you a lot with the marketing in terms of figuring out the different avenues and ways of actually sharing and getting your message out there and sharing your course.
And I'm really keen to ask you about the marketing, but I'm kind of leaving that till a little bit later. Save the best till last. So the other thing I wanted to ask you is, are there lots of people creating online courses, especially in the area of spirituality and meditation and the things that people listening to this show would be interested in?
Yes, actually, it's interesting. It wasn't something that I thought of as we were putting together our platform, but our platform is really content agnostic. So it's really amazing. One of the exciting things about my job is to see the amazing things that people are putting together. And definitely, I think spiritual teaching and healing and things, everything from mindfulness and meditation to yoga are really taking off, and people are taking a stronger interest in them now. And so we see more and more people starting to create courses and content around these different areas. So I've seen some really good stuff put together this way, and a lot of people very interested in learning more about it as well.
Mm-hmm. And now I'm sure you can't possibly know everyone that's posting courses on your platform, but do you have any interesting case studies or success stories that you could share with us about people that you anecdotally do know about who've gone that route with your platform and that ended up being really super successful?
Yeah, I often hesitate to share names of people because it's their private business. But in a generic sense, we did have someone recently. Actually, I think we're going to release their sort of case study shortly. But spoke with them last week, and they were sharing with us their success. And she had started this. Started teaching online a few months ago, and over a period of 3 months had built their online course up to doing over $21,000 a month in revenues. Now, again, excuse me, it's not always about the passive revenues or the revenues, but obviously there's a wonderful feature there that now this person can go and spend so much more time with her family and friends and doing whatever other things that she loves. But also she's now getting excuse me, she's now getting her message out to so many people all over the world who are happy and willing and excited to pay some money to learn about what this person is teaching and get access to that. And she's making their lives better doing this. So.
And what would you put her success down to? What's the sort of secret ingredient that she added to the mix that made her be so successful?
Well, I'd say she took some time and put together some good content. I think that's always important to make sure that the message and what you're delivering is good and you're happy with what you're putting out there. You can always start small and work up. That's the way I did my course. I started with something very small and worked up from there. And then the big thing is, marketing and getting that message out is important. And this person went and found the communities online where her audience hung out and then connected with them and offered her course to them. So it was really going and finding where her target demographic, where people who wanted to learn what she was teaching were hanging out, and then started sharing with them there.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like a really great idea. Now, you must have seen tons and tons of courses by now. So, in your opinion, what sets apart a successful course from an unsuccessful one? And do you think that you'd be able to predict which ones are going to be successful before they're launched, or?
That's a hard thing to do because really one of the big elements of success is the effort that you put into sharing it with your audience. And so one of the surprising things that we found over the last few years of doing so many online courses is that the topic doesn't seem to be all that important, as long as you can pick topics in all different areas of life, everything from teaching people about mindfulness or meditation to how to use Twitter, to leadership or change management or all sorts of different areas. We've seen people be really successful with even coloring comic books and a whole bunch of courses on art and painting and drawing. So it really comes down to if you put something together well and you're passionate about it, and then you go out and find the place where these people are hanging out and share it with them. Mm-hmm. That marketing effort is really the biggest determinant in seeing it grow. Yeah.
No, and I'm sure that's right. You know, you can be super creative and put something phenomenal together, but if people don't find out about it, then you won't be successful. So I'm going to ask you all about marketing courses after the break. We're going to go to a very short break now, but after that, then let's pick your brains for your top marketing tips. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. Dr. Lesley Phillips here, your host. So I have a guest in the studio today, and his name is Greg Smith, and he is the CEO and founder of Thinkific. And Thinkific is a company that helps people turn their teachings into online courses. And I'm really keen and excited to have Greg in the studio because I was using his platform to put together some of my own courses on developing your intuition. And I'm at the stage now where I've got my courses together and I need to market them. So I'm going to ask him all about that. But before I do, if you are someone with a passion who has something to offer the world and you are looking for ways of getting your message out there, then give us a call, because we have an expert in the studio who I'm sure would be delighted to give you some assistance and answer your question. And if you're a bit shy and you don't want to be live on air, then you can email info@drlesleyphillips.com. And that's spelled DRLESLEYPHILLIPS. So before the break, Greg, we were talking about, how you can have passion and creativity and you can put a fantastic course together. But if you don't know how to market what you've done, it can go unnoticed by people. So can you give us your top 5 tips and tricks for marketing online courses?
Sure, yeah. There's so many ways to do it, but if I go with the top 5, I'd say for people who are just starting out, a great way to start is with offline marketing. So if you have some network of friends, of people in the community that you're looking to serve, a group that is interested in your subject matter, I would start by sharing it with them. And people that you have an existing connection with, and you can still share online with email or something like that, but sharing it with them or with places where they hang out can be a really good way to start and get some initial feedback. You're not going to reach millions of people online that way, but that's a good way to start. And I've actually seen people do exceptionally well for years just doing that, just reaching out to people that they know offline. So that's a good way to start. The next step beyond that, when you start to go online, I find a really good way to start is to look for it, as I mentioned before, the communities that people hang out in that are your target demographic, the people who you think would be interested in your course. So if you're teaching a course on meditation, you might look in Facebook for groups focused on meditation. And you might find a Facebook group with 20,000 people that are interested in meditation, or a LinkedIn group, or a Twitter, someone with a Twitter following, or a blog that focuses on meditation. But you find this community where these people are hanging out, maybe a forum, and they're all talking. I think for things something like, say, meditation, Facebook is a great place to start and looking for groups there.
So I have a question about Facebook, because you have to be careful what you do and how you do it, don't you? Otherwise they ban you.
Exactly. Good point.
And I've experienced that myself. So what's the right way to do it so that you don't get banned?
Right. So yeah, if you see a Facebook group with 20,000 people talking about meditation and you go in and just start promoting your course, then they'll see you as something of a spammer, right? Someone who's just there to promote their own things without contributing to the community. So there's a lot of great sort of rules and guides around how to interact with communities. I would say, two really big things is, the biggest one is go in and act as if you were walking into a community center and you were meeting a bunch of people. If you walk around the room and all you say is, you don't even introduce yourself, you just walk up to everyone and say, will you buy this from me? Will you buy this from me? You probably won't be invited back to the next meeting. If you walk around and you meet people and you get to know them and you interact and you provide value to the group, and then you say, oh, and by the way, if you're interested, here I have this might be helpful for you, that works. And so you can, even if you start up, the nice thing about these online groups is you start up a conversation with 1 or 2 or 3 people, and you end up, as you build the relationship, sharing a link with them to your course that you think will help them. Then that link is then there for everybody in the group to see. So you can still reach lots of people, but you're not doing it in a way that's just buy my product.
Great. And I imagine for the LinkedIn groups, it's the same scenario, really.
Yeah, same thing. You want to add value. I find the other way to do it, too, if you want to move a little bit faster and reach a larger segment of the group, is to talk to the group owner and just be very upfront with them about what your plans are. And often I find what works is if you offer something of great value to the group for free through your teachings, and then you can follow it up with an offer of your course, whether that course is free or paid. Again, it's not everything is about selling it, but if let's say you are doing a free course or a paid course, if you did something like offered a live webinar where you said, hey, to this group owner on Facebook for this meditation group, why don't I come in and I will do a 40-minute webinar for your group for free to talk to them about meditation and my expertise in that area. And the key is you really want to add value. It's not a sales pitch. You're going to come across and just add wonderful value so that if all they ever get from you is this webinar, they feel like they got great value. At the end of the webinar, then you can say, if you'd like to learn more, I have this wonderful online course and here's where you can access it. And then you can lead people to the online course. And that's actually, I've seen people doing exceptionally well doing things like that.
That sounds like really great advice. Now, one that I scratch my head over is Twitter. Because to me, Twitter seems to be a place where everyone's got to be there, because you've got to be there if you're somebody. You have to show that you have a lot of followers. And then the way to get lots of followers is to follow other people. And so everybody's out there trying to look like they're somebody with a lot of followers. But, I question sometimes how much of it is real and how much people take action from, posts from tweets. So can you give us a little bit of orientation on Twitter and how to go about using Twitter as a way of marketing online courses?
Right. Okay. Twitter, you're right in that a lot of the things that are going on there are maybe not as they appear, and that if I have 100,000 followers and I put a tweet out, I'm not going to have 100,000 people look at it. People don't go through and read their entire Twitter feed. To me, I think Twitter works best when you're having a lot of one-on-one conversations. It can be important to post content and post tweets that are useful to lots of people, but you shouldn't look at it as if, I have 10,000 Twitter followers, I'll post this tweet and they're all going to read it. You can post that stuff so that when people check you out, they see the kind of things that you're sharing, and that's great, and it is a good way to get more followers. But it's also about having one-on-one conversations. So very similar to hopping into the Facebook groups. If you start chatting with people, you retweet, you favorite their tweets, you share things with them. If I meet you on Twitter and I think, hey, you might be interested in this new video I saw on YouTube about spiritual readings, I'm going to share this with you. And it's sort of almost a one-on-one conversation, but that lots of other people can watch. And you start to actually develop stronger relationships that way.
I see. Okay. So all of this is very much about relationship building then out there in the social media space. that sort of made me took my mind to think about affiliate programs, and I know that your platform has a level that you can join where it will manage affiliate programs. For somebody just starting out with online courses, is that sort of is developing affiliate programs something that you do as a step down the road, do you think? When's the best time to get started with that? And also, how do you get started with that?
I think you can get started as soon as you have an affiliate. So, I mean, the nice thing is that we make it very, very easy. So really all you need is their email, or even for them to just sign up, and you're all set. And just to clarify for anyone who's not familiar, affiliates are people who essentially get a commission or a share of revenue or something for helping you to sell your course. So, for example, if you met the owner of this Facebook group or LinkedIn group and you wanted to offer them 20% of your course sales, they could then bring you in to do this webinar, and you could actually reward them for any sales that came out as a result of that webinar. And so I think there's, it's because it's such an easy thing to set up, there's no real reason to wait. If you come across, the only reason to wait for me is just finding the right affiliates. If you find someone who's got the right connections or the right audience, let's say they have a blog that serves exactly your people, you can make a great partnership with them. And it really ends up being a business partnership where they have access to an audience and they're doing the marketing for you, and you have a wonderful product that they want to share with their audience, and you essentially become a form of business partner, but except you can have many of them.
Yeah, no, it's, if you can do it, to me, that sounds like a way of reaching even further and further. So my next question is about how to price an online course, because, so there might be people listening who already teach and they do live workshops. I'm assuming that you would price an online course differently because you're not live with the tutor and you're not got that classroom experience going on, although I know there are a few things in your system that help with that. So are there any guidelines that, for example, an hour of content you should charge, X dollar amount? How does that work? What's the sort of going rate for online courses? And I know it must vary with the content, but can you give us a little bit of a clue about that?
Definitely, yeah. So it definitely does vary with the content and with your kind of target market, but I can touch on some of the different ranges. Typically, let's say we look at an hour of content, and your course doesn't have to be an hour. I've seen much longer and definitely shorter, but let's say you're looking at about an hour-long course, and you don't have to always price just based on, you could have a half-hour course that's worth more than an hour course, but you have an hour course, it's providing value to people. Generally, I see the prices range from about $25 to $150 for that. And I know that's quite a big range, but most of them fall sort of in the $50 to $75 range. And there's a couple of ways you can go about your pricing strategy. And one of them is the route that I took, which was to start small. So I came out of the gates with a $29 course, and I slowly worked it up to a $389 course and a $789 course. So I started with one at $29. I got some initial... The great thing about that for me was I got confidence because people started buying my course the first month that I released it. And I didn't make a lot of sales. I think I sold 10 in the first month, so I made $300, and I thought, well, this is great. I can continue. And then I would slowly raise the price and increase the quality of the course. And every time I raised the price, I actually found more and more people would buy it. So I really thought there was this perception of price and value. So that's one way to go, is to start low and slowly work your way up. I find that works well if you have a large market, you have access to lots of people to check it out. And it's constantly refreshing. So you're able to show it to new people all the time, so you can experiment. If you have a smaller market or a real niche demographic market, or a small number of people you can reach, or if you're going to be more hands-on with how you're selling it, then you might come out of the gates with a higher price point for your course. So I've seen people launch with $200, $300, even $1,000+ for their online courses.
So that actually brings me to my next question is, how long is too long for an online course? What's the range of time content that's in them? And then I've got a follow-on question after that about course length too?
Well, I used to tell people sort of an hour to 3 hours max, but I think it depends on the message that you're communicating to people. If you come out advertising your course as a 30 hours of video, I think that's actually going to scare and intimidate a lot of people, so you might want to cut it up into pieces. But if you came out and, let's say you did have that 30 hours, but you came out and you said, over the next 3 months, I'm going to teach you this, and this is the result you're going to achieve, or this is one thing I love to say in the marketing is this is the change that you're going to see in your life. This is how your life will be different when you complete this course. And you don't even focus on the time. Maybe it does take 30 hours to get through all the stuff, but you focus on the result or the change they're going to see in their life. That can be a great way of marketing it. And then it's less about focusing on the hours, and that kind of becomes irrelevant. And it's more about what value you're providing them.
That's great. Because, I mean, so for example, my courses that I've produced, I haven't added up how much time, but let's say maybe it's 3 hours. But what they are is that they're teaching techniques that people then need to go away and practice and perfect, and get really comfortable with, and then come back and take the next piece. So they might learn something, and then they might practice it for a week, and then come back and learn the next piece, and then practice that for a week, and then and so. From one course, they potentially could be working on developing a particular intuitive ability for maybe up to 3 months, because it's like anything, the more that you do it and the more that you practice it, the better at it you become. So I don't know what my question is there, but I imagine some courses, it's literally you sit in front of the computer in an hour, you download the information and you're done. Whereas this is more of a, you need to be committed to practicing what you learn, otherwise you actually won't get much out of it.
Yeah, and that's a great way to do it. I saw someone recently putting a course together on dancing and a particular kind of dance. And so, of course, for his program, you had to get sort of lesson 1, and then he would say, okay, go practice that for a week and come back, kind of like going to a dance class. And he would say, come back, and he wouldn't even release lesson 2. It wasn't ready for you until you'd been in the course for a week. So you came back a week later, lesson 2 was now ready for you, and you'd come back and learn, the next set of steps. And then he'd say, okay, go away and practice that for a week, come back in a week, I'll release your next lesson. So that can be a great way of doing things, and especially if you want to have this sort of long transfer of skills where you really want someone to absorb this and learn it and practice it, and it takes practice, then spreading that content out over time can be very helpful.
And that works, and you find that works well for people taking the course. They don't get impatient.
Well, yeah, if that's the way that your content's structured and that's the way that people are going to learn best, then it's just partly about communicating that to them and saying right up front, I'm going to release this content to you, or these lessons to you over time, because I really want you to go and learn this first, and when you're ready you can come back and we'll do the next part. And one way is to sort of deny them the content until you think they've had a week to practice. The other way is just to say, you can give it all to them up front and say, don't go on to the next one until you're happy with this. Mm-hmm. So you can give them both options.
Right. So they get a preview of what's to come, but they understand that they shouldn't move on to it until they've got the first part. I'm just going to see where we are with the time, Greg, in case we need to go to a break. And I think that we might take a break after one more question. And so what haven't I asked you that I should have asked you? What other gems of advice would you normally give people who were contemplating putting their teachings online?
Well, there's a lot of stuff we can talk about marketing and conversion and getting people to sign up for your course. But I actually think for your audience, one of the interesting things is if you're doing something that you currently do offline, say you would do live and you would work one-on-one with someone or with a class of people where you could be there, is thinking about how you would put that online. And I know for some people, their immediate reaction is, well, I just can't take what I teach and put it online because I need to be there with the person. Well, it's surprising how you can be a little bit creative and come up with ways of sharing it online. Lots of opportunities. We've seen people do kind of case studies where they say, I want to teach some skills to you. Now go try it and come back and I'll talk about I might not be able to address your questions directly, but we can talk generally in a video about, or in a lesson about, what we see. The other thing you can do is you can actually add some live interaction or personal touch to your courses. I've seen people deliver them as a package where they say, here's an online package, which might be some pre-training or some follow-up training, and then I'll also come and meet with you in person. So that can be a great add-on or additional resource you can share with people, where maybe you don't have time to spend 4 hours with them, but you can give them a few hours of training in advance, and then when you show up, they're really ready to receive your message, and you can really see where they're at and help them from there. So you can be really creative about how you use things that are conventionally taught live and put them online.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that, because I had to be a bit creative about the way I structured my materials, because you deliver it differently when it's online and you're not holding their hand the whole time. So yeah, it was a great learning experience for me. Now we're going to go to a break. After the break, you can call in with a question for me. So just because we're talking about developing your spiritual business doesn't mean that you can't call up with a question about something else. And in fact, after the break, what we're going to do is we're either going to take calls and questions or your email questions, or I'm going to give Greg a reading live on air. So if you want to gazump Greg and be the one to receive the reading. Welcome back, everybody. You are listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley, broadcasting on CIVL on 101.7 FM. And so I'm in the studio with Greg Smith, who is the CEO of Thinkific, and we've been having a fantastic conversation about creating online courses from the context of people with spiritual teachings and alternative teachings. And now, because I've run out of questions, and because I want to thank Greg for coming to the studio, I am going to do a reading for him. So do you have a question for me, Greg?
I do, actually. It's something that has been on my mind lately, and I thought I'd ask you for some advice. So as you know, I'm recently married and actually have a little baby girl on the way soon. And my wife and I are looking to move out of downtown and get somewhere with more trees and closer to hiking trails and closer to family for when the baby arrives. So we've been looking at all these different variables, trying to figure out where we live. Do we live closer to some hiking trails, closer to her sister, closer to her family, and looking at all these different places and options. And it seems like there's so many options on the table, which is a great thing to have. But wondering any advice you can give on that.
Absolutely. So I'll just explain to you and for the listeners, the way that I read is I read from trance, which is an altered state of consciousness. So I am going to just take a moment to shift my energy into trance and tune into Greg. And I just need to ask Greg, when I read you, Greg, you need to keep your eyes open. That's the only rule that there is. And just give me a moment and I'm going to tune in to you. And I'm just doing that now. I'm just adjusting my energy and going to take a look at this question. And I think I need to know the first name of your wife so I can look at the two of you, because you're making this decision together.
Of course. Her first name is Shuli.
Shuli. Okay, so let's take a look at Greg and Shuli, currently living in downtown Vancouver and thinking about moving to the North Shore. Well, it's really funny, and the first thing that comes up is, and it's so funny because it reminds me of the name of your company, which is Thinkific, which is it just seems like you're just thinking too much, you're analysing it too much. And it looks like you're the one that's doing more of the analysing than your wife, actually. So let me just separate the energy between the two of you, and I'll take a look at moving to the North Shore as well. And you live in downtown Vancouver. So so the first thing is, you have decided that's what you want to do, and I can see that the energy is lined up with moving to the North Shore. So the question isn't, the geographic area. It looks like, you've decided that, and then in terms of moving close to family or moving close to hiking trails, moving close to family looks it looks bright, and it looks like that's something that your wife needs and wants. and that looks to me, in a way, more important than the hiking trails, because you can hop in your car and get to a hiking trail, within a short space of time wherever you live in the North Shore. But so I'm seeing, really what I'm seeing is the excitement around the baby coming, and I'm seeing that the focus of the energy really going into the new baby and looking after the new baby and adjusting to the new baby. And it looks like, so I'm assuming some of your wife's family is in the North Shore, is it?
Yeah, both our families actually.
Okay. Yeah, because it looks as though there are people, especially in her family, that are really... it's almost like there's already an agreement that they're there to help, kind of thing. And there's a lot of excitement about it. So I don't know how much I'm helping you here, but the North Shore looks great. Moving near family looks great. And the new baby looks like a super bright soul. And the new baby is connected with not just you and your wife, but the extended family members as well, right? So it's a soul that, because we incarnate in soul groups. So the people that we're in relationship with are usually people that we've known before. And so I'm seeing that your new baby is strongly connected with some members in your wife's family. And so part of the push to move to the North Shore and do that's actually coming from the baby and not just from the two of you. So even though the baby's not born yet, on a spiritual level, that being is already, creating its life and where it wants to be and who it wants to be involved with. So does that give you enough information, or do you want to refine your question a bit? And
that's really good. It's funny hearing you say some of those things makes me think about it and think about I think your first point too was right on in terms of thinking too much as opposed to just following your heart on certain things. But yeah, and
it looks to me like you're the one that thinks a bit more than your wife. She just looks like she's in a way, she's just surrendering to the new phase of her life, and she looks. Her heart looks so full. Just receiving the new baby coming in and the excitement of that, and she looks really happy, and it looks the new baby. It just looks so bright. See if I can tell you anything about the new baby, anything else. Well, this soul has a really, really, really strong relationship with your wife. It's like they agreed this soul, your wife agreed to be this soul's mom, and this soul agreed to be the child. It's like almost even before she was born. It's like, okay, this is what we're going to do this time, and this is how it's going to be. And let's take a look. Yeah, just looks really bright and really exciting.
Any name ideas for her?
Oh my gosh, how funny. Well, we have to even have a look at whether this baby being, what gender the baby being is. Actually, I think you know it's a girl, don't
it is,
you?
yes.
Yeah, I was going to say it looks like a girl, but I think you told me that. So, let's see. What did you say? So your wife's name is Sue Lee.
Shu Lee, yeah.
Shu Lee. Well, another name beginning with S is coming up, and it's hard to get names, but there was something that was coming up that sounded a bit like Shulinda or Sharinda or something like that. And so I don't know whether there's names. Clearly, your wife comes from, originally her background is
half German and half Chinese,
half
actually,
German,
but the name is Chinese.
Right.
Yeah.
I was getting like a name. Actually, it sounded like surrender. So I don't know whether it's just surrender and the name will come, or maybe there's a name where the meaning is surrender. I think that this being is so bright and so focused on coming into the world that I think the right name will come to you at the time.
Thanks.
All right, so we are getting towards the end of the show, and we have to wrap up, and I need to introduce the next show, which is Jazz Plus with Darren Ollinger, and he will be up very, very shortly. And join us next week. We're here every week at 7 o'clock at Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley on CIVL, and I'll speak to you all next week. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.